The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
As Jesus passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. He spat on the ground and made clay with the saliva, and smeared the clay on his eyes, and said to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. So he went and washed, and came back able to see. His neighbors and those who had seen him earlier as a beggar said, "Isn't this the one who used to sit and beg?" Some said, "It is." But others said, "No, he just looks like him." He said, "I am." They brought the one who was once blind to the Pharisees. Now Jesus had made clay and opened his eyes on a Sabbath. So then the Pharisees also asked him how he was able to see. He said to them, "He put clay on my eyes, and I washed, and now I see." So some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath." But others said, "How can a sinful man do such signs?" And there was a division among them. So they said to the blind man again, "What do you have to say about him, since he opened your eyes?" He said, "He is a prophet." They answered and said to him, "You were born totally in sin, and are you trying to teach us?" Then they threw him out. When Jesus heard that they had thrown him out, he found him and said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" He answered and said, "Who is he, sir, that I may believe in him?" Jesus said to him, "You have seen him, and the one speaking with you is he." He said, "I do believe, Lord," and he worshipped him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
My dear brothers and sisters, we find ourselves in a very extraordinary time. And because of that, we are worshiping the true and living God in this Holy Mass at the chapel of Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Transfiguration without a congregation. I am joined today by Deacon Dan Brewer, just a few staff who are in charge of making this live cast possible. But the fact is that every single Mass, whether there is a congregation physically present or not, every single Mass is a public Mass. Every Mass is a public Mass, because in every single Mass, the entire mystical body of Christ is present. The whole mystical body of Christ. The Church Triumphant, the Church in heaven, is right here. We may not see them with our eyes, but all of the saints and angels, right here, no longer impeded by space or time. They are present in all of the altars around the Catholic world in which Holy Mass is being celebrated right now. We know also that the church suffering is present. All those souls in purgatory. We know that the Holy Mass is a powerful means of intercession for those souls that are continuing to be purified as they wait to see the true and living God. They are also with us right here, giving thanks to God for the gift of his mercy. And the church militant, all those brothers and sisters around the world who are living members of the body of Christ in a state of grace, are present, albeit in a mystical, mysterious way. They are present to us, not only through the camera, but also through the bond that connects us all in this family of faith that is the church. My brothers and sisters, we are never alone. As long as we are living in the Christ life, as long as we are in a state of grace, a living member of the body of Christ, we are joined together. And the grace of baptism runs deeper even than the bonds of blood. We are joined together. You are here with us, right here in this chapel. And we offer up your needs and the needs of your family on this Laetare Sunday. Laetare Sunday. It is in fact that Sunday of Lent where we give God thanks and we rejoice. We rejoice because Lent is almost over. It's an image we've used many, many times before, and I'm sure I stole it from somebody else. Imagine the sun rising from rising at a distance. And the sun, as it's coming up, sets the sky on fire. Beautiful, beautiful rose-tinted sky. Not pink, rose-tinted sky, and it reminds us that dawn is almost here. It reminds us that the day is almost upon us. So too, in this particular day of Lent, we remember that Easter is only a couple of weeks away. The dawn is almost upon us. Does that even make any sense in this day? Does this idea of rejoicing, this idea of giving thanks to God, of wearing these festive vestments, does this make any sense at all in our current challenge, our current trying time? Well, certainly I think the answer is yes. Not an obvious yes. It's not a yes that comes to us without faith, but it is a yes. Why? What in the world, Father JPE, is worth celebrating right now? What in the world is worth celebrating? Well, my brothers and sisters, certainly there are many natural graces of this particular time. We know that there are family members who are spending more time together than they normally would. I hope and I pray that this particular time is time in which we are reaching out to loved ones who are struggling, loved ones who are alone. We are speaking to them. We are concerned about them. This is also a time of generosity. So many in our own community who themselves are struggling have offered to our parish to help those who stand in need. These are all moments of grace, moments that we give thanks to God for and we rejoice in. But I also offer that this is also a time to rejoice in the goodness of God, in the presence of God, in the midst of suffering, because He has allowed us, He being the true and living God, who touches us with His life, He allows us to participate in the salvation of the world. Brothers and sisters, we believe that by means of our baptism, we are configured to Jesus. And as long as we stay in a state of grace, more on that in a moment, as long as we remain a living member of the body of Christ, every single action of our life, whether it is one of joy, whether it is one of sorrow, joined to the mystery of Jesus, participates in the salvation of the world. Brothers and sisters, there's a very strange, mysterious passage in the New Testament where St. Paul speaks about he makes up for what is lacking in the sufferings of Christ. What? He makes up for what is lacking in the sufferings of Christ. In His body, He bears the mark of the crucified. What does this mean? Certainly, the Lord, in His sacrifice upon Calvary, this bears within it all of the graces necessary for the salvation of the world. All of them. But the Lord allows Christians to bear His cross in their own little way, and in so uniting themselves to Jesus and uniting their sufferings to His, they make reparation for sin. They grow in love. They give example to other members of the body of Christ and those who are not, of the power of faith to allow us to endure times of challenge. We believe that a living member of the body of Christ becomes, by means of baptism, by grace, what Christ is by nature. Consider that. Because of the baptismal font and the power of the font, we have become by grace what Christ is by nature. And so I think about owners of restaurants who are struggling to think about how can I remain open right now? And uniting this time of uncertitude to the uncertitude of Jesus in the garden, they participate in the salvation of the world, making reparation for sin, offering up the prayers of their lives, of their tears, joining themselves to all those in the mystical body who are likewise enduring suffering. I think about parents who are watching this live broadcast or later in the day and thinking to themselves, how in the world am I going to make the next couple of weeks work? How is this going to work? How am I going to provide my child a space where they can learn while also doing my own job? Not an easy challenge, not an easy thing. You too, participating in the salvation of the world by uniting your life, by uniting your sufferings to the sufferings of the Lord and His own challenge of juggling in His own public ministry. My dear brothers and sisters, whatever your particular struggles or trials may be right now, whatever anxieties might be on your mind, And I think most of us have some anxiety. I know that many of us say, we're doing just fine, but we're all in a time of a lack of certitude that can be very trying, that can be very stressful. Whatever our particular struggle or challenge may be, I urge you, I ask you, to lift this up in union with the crucified and thereby participate in the salvation of the world. Once again, you make reparation for sin. Every time we sin, we do damage. We do damage to ourselves, we do damage to our families, we do damage to the mystical body of Christ. And we take upon ourselves, by offering up our sufferings, we take upon ourselves the role of healing that damage, of taking it on ourselves so that the mystical body of Christ might be raised up. As we endure challenges that we would never have asked for, whatever they may be, we give witness to the world of patient suffering, that this isn't all there is, that we are made for something greater, that we are bound for a heavenly Jerusalem where suffering and isolation are no more. In our lifting up of our sufferings, we grow in sympathy and compassion for those who are likewise suffering, those who suffer especially without the gift of faith. We grow in understanding of their real crucifixion, and we are compelled to help them carry their own crosses. So my brothers and sisters, this is a time of rejoicing. Yes, it is a time also of challenge, of trial, but it is also a time of rejoicing because we have been asked to bear the cross of the Lord and to participate in the salvation of the world. So let us give thanks to God for our great dignity, our great destiny. Let us strive to remain a living member of the body of Christ. If we have fallen into sin, or if we are watching this video and thinking to ourselves, it's been a long time since I've actually been in a church, call your local parish, ask what they are doing for confession or for absolution. These are very unique times. Different opportunities for forgiveness are available. Right here at Transfiguration, for now, we don't quite know what tomorrow will bring, but for now we're offering confession for a limited time frame, always respecting all of those dictates of both our local shepherd, Archbishop Hebda, but also local civil authorities, social distancing and appropriate distance between confessor and penitent. I urge you, if it's been a long time since you have known the Lord's mercy in the sacrament of confession, strive to make a point somehow in these unique days to beg the Lord for His mercy. Become a living member of the body of Christ and partake in this powerful, albeit difficult time, a time in which we have been called to carry our cross and to save the world.